Collective, it's Sean. I'm the Divine Feminine Abolitionist, and we are free. Welcome to my channel. This is kind of a follow-up from the cards that I pulled for the 1010 portal and the 1111 portal, and where I was talking about Isis revealing some of those truths from that particular portal. And I thought, as we're coming on this full moon, and a lot of people use the December moon for manifesting because of the amazing energy that's in this moon as we end up the cycle of a 12-month period, and you know, the sun, solar, going around the planets. And I want to first talk about a couple of things. I don't have my Isis card here because I left her on my altar, so sorry about that. But this is an Isis kind of energy read, and when I originally started talking to you guys, this was during the 8-8 portal, and the cards that I pulled was about judgment and justice, and I was talking to you about ancestor venerations, and during that portal, ancestors coming through, and how the vision of them coming through for me was them riding on lions and being the lions and being the lioness and bringing that thunderous energy. And some things simultaneously happened within that. Oh, this is my t-shirt. I got this from, I think it's called Power and Blackness t-shirts. It says heavy on the minding my own business. I love this sweatshirt. It kind of evokes a lot of attention because I live in a predominantly white town, a small college town of very conservative Christians, very fundamentalist kind of energy. And here, me and my little brown self in my probably them looking at me. I have tats. A lot of times people approach me as if I'm a lot younger than my 54 years, and they speak to me in a manner that I have to redirect them a lot of times, just because they maybe have been accustomed to speaking to younger people of color in certain tones, with, you know, certain emphasis on certain words or the way they approach it, especially with a sense of inquisitiveness or feeling entitled to access of information, entitled to touch your hair, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I said all that to say that I like this sweatshirt. But in this Isis energy, so simultaneously, when that pull happened for the 8-8 portal, and I was talking to you, about some energies that were coming through. I said Medgar Evers and Breonna Taylor, but I was confusing Medgar Evers with Emmett Till, which I used to do a lot until I saw the movie Till and did my own personal research. So I'm going to say that the energy, and it makes sense that Medgar Evers and Emmett Till were coming through at the same energy, in terms of what you will find when you start to do any kind of spiritual work, where you honor any type of ancestors, is even though these ancestors may not, or these ascended souls, if you are a person who works with ascended souls energy, you will find that people will start to come into your vortex, into your energy, who want to do work with you because they want to teach you lessons, and they want you to be a part of the divine karmic justice that they are enacting on the planet, that you may need to get a piece of. So I understood why Breonna Taylor, Medgar Evers, and Emmett Till were coming up, because in somewhere around 2016, 2017, I began to be targeted by a particular energy of I call ego consciousness. And this particular ego consciousness targeted me because I began to advocate for myself and It all stems from a very wealthy real estate agent who has access to a lot of things. And he felt like it would be very easy to target this person, to destroy this person. So, these are people who consider themselves great warriors, but how are you a great warrior when you don't go after you don't fight other great warriors? You go for people who you, in your mind or in your understanding, you can conquer. And this was originally kind of some of the Viking energy before Odin had his great transformation. And, which people looking on the outside may consider that a weakness, but he learned to transform his energy of warrior into understanding that with any kind of blessing, whether it's the blessing of brute, whether it's the blessing of strategy, whether it's the blessing of wealth, with anything that the divine gives you and the ancestors bless, and your particular ancestors bless you with, comes great responsibility. And to me, I've come to this understanding. There's only one law in universal law. The law is do as you will and harm none. And if you honor the law, the law will honor you. There have been times in my life that I have not honored that law. And that law had to show up and redirect me in whichever way that my ancestors and that my, divine guides and my soul family saw fit to redirect me, to get me to the place and to the consciousness that I'm here today. And of course, when I was going through redirection for making extremely poor choices in my life, I looked at it and I was like, wow, these are some really harsh consequences for the choices that I made. But the thing is, when you make choices, especially when you make poor choices, especially choices that affect other people's lives, you have no idea of the magnitude of what you're doing because you're so disconnected, especially if you're acting from a sense of self-gratification. You're being selfish. You're only thinking about yourself. You don't understand that this impacts you in such a way that you alter or you influence the energy of other people. And I was not always responsible with my choices and how my energy was affecting other people's lives, other people's energy, that I was trespassing on other people's energy. And some of the ways that I had to learn was extremely, extremely harsh. And because some of the things that I did were extremely harsh. But I said all that to say is, okay, so they started coming to me, Breonna Taylor, Edmonton, Medgar Evers, and talking to me about divine justice and what that looked like, how that balanced out. And then simultaneously, okay, some things were happening. The Breonna Taylor's murderers got indicted by the DOJ. Shout out to the Department of Justice for being on the side of the little people. I'm not going to say for once, because I would imagine if we go through DOJ justice system that they have erred on the side of trying to balance, add something to the other side of the scales. But shout out to them for pursuing that. Shout out to that county. Shout out to that law enforcement agency that works with DOJ to bring this to this degree. But even more than that, shout out to Breonna Taylor's family, who would not give out, because that's what it takes. It takes advocacy. Because one thing I have learned about bullies, one thing that bullies hate the most, bullies hate for you to advocate for yourself. If you advocate for yourself, the first thing they try to do is smear campaigns. Oh, this person is insane. For a lot of people who identify the same way I identify with, it came out, oh, she's the angry black woman. I don't really walk around with a bunch of anger, but I will advocate for myself, and I will do so with extreme passion, which to other people who are not accustomed to seeing women of color advocate for themselves, of course it's going to come across as anger. And I'm going to say this, anger is not a bad thing. You know, we've been socialized to be people who are not angry. We're socialized to turn the other cheek. And, you know, who does that benefit? What doctrine and construct does it benefit, you know, anybody to say, turn the other cheek and here, you hit me on the other side? Well, the only construct that paradigm really benefits are the people who are taking advantage of other people. Because if you're not being taken advantage of, there's no need for you to turn the other cheek. But my whole thing is, yeah, I'm turning the other cheek because I'm going to do a 360-degree pivot so that I can make sure to get the fuck out of your way so that you don't slap me again on my other cheek. That's how I'm turning the other cheek. But anyway, I don't want to digress too far off. So simultaneously things started happening. Ahmaud Arbery's murderers were convicted and sentenced to prison. And Breonna Taylor's murderers were indicted. Then the film Woman King came out. And there was so much controversy of people who were hiding behind racism by saying, oh, my issue with this film is that it's historically inaccurate. And they wanted to stress the fact that the Dahomey participated in the slave trade, and they did. And nobody who is of African descent has ever denied that Africans participated in the slave trade. And then, you know, they want to say slavery is slavery. And it's like, there have always been slaves. There have always been people who have been captured in wartime. And nobody is disputing that. And I'm not going to sit here and try to, sugarcoat slavery by the Dahomey. What they did was wrong. And not only did they do was wrong, they had consequences for their behavior. For 300 years, they were a part of the antebellum South slave trade. They were a part of, the trade that existed in the universe. So they didn't get away. You know, some of the slavers became enslaved themselves. I mean, at least most of them. The Zulu nation, some of the most greatest nations on the planet of Africa who participated in the slave trade also became enslaved. Bam. They got consequence because the universe always balances shit out. And it may look like, but here's the thing. I believe that, the supreme power allowed us to experience what we experienced. One, because we populated the planet Earth with our people through the slave trade. Two, a reversal of fortune always happens. And this is where we are in this power construct. But another thing is, I feel like our people went through so much of that because we had forgotten Divine Mother. We had forgotten Divine Mother. We had forgotten ancestral veneration. We had forgotten. And it's just this sense of no matter what you go through, where you find yourself in life, no matter the horrors that you may go through, you will always find your circle back to the original root of who you are. So no matter what outsiders did to us, how they enslaved us, no matter what they did to our people, we always would circle back to the root of who we are. And I feel like that was the message of that movie. And the message that I got from Woman King was this. Because some of the things she was an amazing warrior, but the thing that kind of had kept her from being king the ultimate leader of king was this thing within her heart. This thing was she was always following it and doing her duty. But when you don't follow what's in your heart, it doesn't matter what you do for duty, because sometimes duty will have you do things that are unjust. So you can't just always follow what duty is. So you have to, in order to be the best leader that you can be, you have to know when to seek your own counsel. So I got that from the movie, and I also got that, she was violated, horrendously violated, ganged raped by a rival tribe, and she had a child as a result of that. But when that happened, something happened to her that made her disconnect from the part of her that separates her from everybody else. Her, not just her humanity, because she could be humane, but it separated her from the private part of yourself. Because sometimes we go through some horrendous things in our physical body. Things that hurt, things that violate, things that wound us deeply, and they affect the psyche. Because we honestly believe that something that has happened to our body has actually happened to ourselves. And it takes a lot of spiritual work or psychological work if you're not a spiritual person, but it takes a lot of healing work to get to this understanding of this. No matter what the fuck happens to our bodies, that thing, no matter how our ego tries to, become the narrator of that voice, how the ego will try to do that. The reality is that thing doesn't penetrate our soul. It may get into our psyche, and it may alter the way we believe, alter the way we think, alter the way we operate. But when we do the healing work and we connect with the soul of who we are, we understand that we're impenetrable. So what other people do outside of us, it doesn't penetrate the soul. It does not penetrate the soul, because the reason that I know this is because when I study the slave trade in the United States of America and in European countries of the colonizers, when I study the ways of the colonizers, I understand this, that no matter how they try to psych their minds out to have this understanding of what those people are doing is what we do to these people because they're animals. How they knew that wasn't true. They knew that they wasn't true. They knew that they were just greedy and they were capitalists, and that in order for them to get the production that they got out of our people, was to treat them as if they were not human beings so that they could justify their own behaviors. It doesn't justify it. Nothing justifies what happened in America to many peoples it doesn't justify what happened to the native peoples of this land. Shout out to them. Shout out that I recognize that this is their land and that they sacrificed that I could have